So moving on to the next topic, I think we're going to touch on the season that's just gone and the abrupt ending to it. Creon, we'll start with you. Obviously, you went through the BBL Cup. You made some changes. There was an immediate, uplift from that. We got a few wins around the festive season, and obviously a very, very big win at the end of the season against the Lions. How would you reflect on the season that's just gone, and how did you think things were going to pan out going into the tail end of the season before obviously coronavirus struck?
So, in the time that we've had now to reflect on the past season, reflect on myself, I've learned a lot from everything. So wanting to win and having the right players to win, is everything we've just spoken about. It's, different things need to fall into place and stuff. What I've done in the past is I've always focused on trying to bring in what's great for our organization, which is the right thing to do. Is that guy also going to be good in the community? Is he going to be good off the court? Is he going to be good on the court? And sometimes that's a very, very tough thing to find everybody, a player that's got all those things. I do believe that the group that we finished off the season with, we had managed to hit almost every single thing that we had the pieces in place. So talking about having Matthew to come in and defend centers when we needed to and get inside presence, we had that. Skylar was having a blind over season, gave us that inside-out ability that we needed. So he was having a big season. Tay was always ever ready at 3 spot, probably the best 3-man in the BBL. And then we brought in a professional scorer. And I always used to say to Gavin, like, Lavelle Cook can score. I wasn't too sure about the other stuff, like the character and so forth, but he turned out to be a really good guy. Only thing with the community stuff, I had to tell him that he can't coach in his flip flops. He has to wear his, so he coaches in his Vans. And then obviously when Uno came in, Uno was more athletic. I think he still had to learn about that position. So Kalen helped him out in that part. And Henry played a little bit at the 1. And then obviously James had to adjust to his role coming off the bench. So after a really tough start, I think that we were, we had got to a point where we're just only going to go forward. And we beat a London Lions team that was really good. I give it to them that, Justin wasn't playing, was key, but they still had a very, very good team with Ovi and the likes and Brandon Peel and so forth. And to beat that team showed what direction we are going in. And obviously one of the best secrets was adding Andrew Lawrence to finish off the season. Would have been, I think, the icing on the cake for us, because we would have made a run. I have no doubt about that, because of what level of a player he is at that point guard position. We would have made that run. So disappointing, but the coronavirus is bigger than anything else in the world right now. So for this season, the cup run, even when we had like Chip Flanagan and so forth in the team, if you look at our results, we lost so many games under 10 points, and that's the part. And I think, not to make excuses, I want to win games and we want to win games. And Gavin brought up this point is we don't have that many blowouts. There's sometimes in the season where a team just gets blown out. And, I do believe that every single game we go into, we have a chance to win, and we kind of like we've shown that over over time and stuff, and we are probably 1 or 2 wins away from getting to the next round of the cup, but it wasn't to be. But the little changes that we made, I think, helped us. So on reflection, the squad that finished, I think, was going to be a real playoff threat. I really do believe that, but I've learned a lot, and as I speak to Gavin quite often, and I said to him, I've had a chance to sit back and reflect on the way I've done stuff and how I can do stuff better, and using the people around me to do stuff and not do too much, because Gavin knows how I am. I try and keep it to myself because I want it done properly. And it's not that I don't trust people, it's just from past experiences, but giving the time to reflect and stuff, bringing in the right people to be with me, be around us, and allowing people to do stuff is a really key thing for me going into the new season, which frees me up to focus on the guys.
Mm. And just bringing it full circle, obviously we've talked about way back in year 1 where you feel like you made mistakes. You must feel really encouraged that, 5 years down the line, you've got the likes of Matthew, Bryan and Manning Andrew Lawrence, Ryan Richards, who are willing to come here and be part of the organisation, despite the fact that the season ended in a strange way. We'll never know what would have happened if Andrew had played.
Yeah,
you must feel really encouraged that you could get players like that.
So, not because we're on here and stuff and that. Obviously, Gavin gives me a lot of credit and stuff for that, but everybody's dependent on somebody else, and Gavin made those things happen. So if I need to do something, I can go to Gavin and say, hey, Gav, I got these guys coming in. Is it all right if I keep my court bookings going on from this time? This is how I feel. Kalen will benefit from it. Henry will benefit from it. Teo will benefit from it, from bringing these guys in. And also, it's a good selling tool because they get to see who we are. So I can't take all the credit for that because Gavin's the one that opens up the gym in order for them to come in. And so that's why when they come in, they all know who Gavin is. It's not as if they don't know who Gavin is. I make sure they know that's the guy up there. That's Gavin. He takes care of this, and a lot of basketball players are respectful guys and stuff in that there. And so they obviously then start talking to Gavin because they're trying to get Gavin to give them more money or do a whole lot of other stuff in that there. But I think that them coming to our facility, they see what it's about and stuff in that there. And it's a process, and I think I've learned a lot. So going full circle, there's things that I've learned along the way. I think we've gone to this season. The most disappointing or interesting part of season 4 was we built around. We always have Teo in mind, but Teo is very selfless, which is great to have a captain leader who's selfless. But we built around British talent. We built around Jordan Williams, and we built around Josh Steele. So the parts that you bring in to put a team together are key to who your predominant leaders or scorers and so forth are going to be. And we felt that I felt that Josh and Jordan were ready to take that step. So we built around them. Then unfortunately, Jordan gets an offer, and we got to understand that these guys don't play forever, and he gets a double your money offer, and he's training with the German BBL team. So we're not going to stand in somebody's way, although we have now changed our contracts to protect ourselves so that doesn't happen again. So Jordan moves on, and then, Josh gets an offer to go to Spain, and so he goes on. So now all of a sudden, the two guys that we try to build around are gone. So that's why now my focus is on who wants to be here for the long run. And like Gavin has said, we talk BBL can sometimes be looked at as a stepping stone league, but we know we pay on time and you're going to develop and stuff. So I'm not going to feel bad about what I have to pay you or what's going on, because I'm not trying to trick you into that situation and stuff, So moving forward, I know that those experiences from years 1 up to 5, I've learned enough, and COVID-19 and the self-critique of myself and the time to watch back on film, speaking to other coaches, I know that I will be a better person and a better coach come the next season.
And just before we get on to a couple of questions from the fans, I think having looked at the past 5 years, I think it'd be really interesting to kind of hear from each of you what you think the next 5 years will look like. So you're 5 years into this journey now. You've seen a lot of things, had a lot of success. So we'll start with you, Gavin. Obviously, you've been here from the start, from a managing perspective. How do you hope the next 5 years pan out for Scorchers? What kind of view do you have it? What direction do you want it to go in?
Yeah, I think, if I reflect back to what we said at the beginning of these 5 yees and what we wanted to achieve at the end of the 5 years, I think if I was a politician, I'd say we set out what we wanted to do and we succeeded. I think we're silverware, so we'll talk about that, the All Stars Championship. That's, I still stand by it. It's the only BBL competition, British basketball competition where there's prize money. We want that one.
Yeah.
But I think that we have made some strides, and I think that my reflection at this point now is, I think that when this season ended from an off the court position, it's never been so healthy. Our interest, our ticket sales, it's never been as healthy as it has been then for years. I go back to some of the Heat years. It generally is some of the biggest years. The consistency in big numbers. That's down to a lot of hard work from a small group of people. But so the next 5 years, I think that we've got to carry on developing. I think that I'd like to see a bit of consistency with it paying off with some of the players that we've supported in the past and been in contact with. Actually, I think let's commit for 2-3 years. I want to be another. I see what Teo's doing. I see what he's doing for himself, what he's building now. I want to be part of that. And I think whether that's again British, American, or whatever. I think someone must be around, and I'm sure there'll be some opportunities. I'm sure players would have had time to reflect in this period of time about what actually is important to them in terms of career. I'd like to see us again the fruition of the sort of the academy, the FE Academy program we have. And how that links into the university program. Again, there's been some bright sparks in both those programs. There's been some players that have come through those programs, and I'd like to still like that to become established. Obviously, I'd like us to win. And I generally think that. I don't think I've never said that we've got the BBL at times probably is a meritocracy in terms of whoever pays the most probably ends up at the top, and whoever pays the least probably ends up at the bottom. That's not always true, and I always say that we're certainly not in the top echelons of who pays the most, and we're certainly not in the bottom either. So, we're definitely a floater in terms of that, and it's interesting to listen to some a particular club, I suppose Glasgow, sort of very disappointed that the league was cancelled and they should have been given the title of the win, of the league. Fair enough. Tell you what, as the boys said, we had a case to say we're disappointed the season ended because we think we would have had we would have been at the O2, we're lifting that playoff trophy. I think we've got a case there. So I think how we develop that's important. I think that ultimately it's establishing a brand, a product. Being strong locally, that's been key for me. The people in the south of Surrey, Hampshire, Sussex, parts of sort of South London, Berkshire, that they recognise we were a fantastic place to go and watch, a fantastic piece of entertainment, and we can and people want to come and see us, and I think that's building the case, and that builds our case to ultimately having a purpose-built arena to play basketball out of. I think that there's definitely room for that to develop. However we do that, because then that suddenly changes things again. That means that more people can access us. We can deliver more activity. We can attract even. We're not just got a great training facility. We've now got our own arena. And I think that's ultimately where my personal sort of. If you ask me what I want my legacy to be when I leave, bricks and mortar aren't the be all and end all, but wouldn't it be fantastic to have that, and for all of us to, certainly the myself, Creon and Teo, to, put a lot of time, blood, sweat, tears into this. Wouldn't it be great in, say, 5-10 years time to look back, and watch Teo as a 40-year-old man playing in front of 3,000 people? That'd be fantastic. But that's and in all seriousness, also the development of these other two gents here. The reality is, in 5 years' time, we're all going to be 5 years older and 5 years more developed. These guys have got ambitions. For us and it's here as a club, but as individuals, they're taking those next steps. How do they develop that's more than just on court? That's being part of that is quite exciting for me. What does the future hold for, for Creon, for Teo, and and again the two, Kalen and Henry. I really hope are going to be part of this for the foreseeable future. This family that we have, the Scorchers family. So that's what I'd like to see us.
I really like that. And moving on to you, Creon, from a coaching perspective, and also as director of basketball, how do you see things panning out over the next few years?
Look, I think we've spoken a lot about on the court stuff naturally, because that's the exciting stuff for the fans. I think that like Gavin has said, when we started in year one, it was a late start and it was a shell. Like we had nothing. Like we had a team, but we had no community imprint. We had nothing. Now you look at it. Our camps sell out, so all our camps are popular and they sell out. And that's an amazing thing when we don't have our own teams. That's just from our fan base and other clubs that we've got good relationships with within the area is a big thing. Also, through the foundation and the people within the sports park in the communities. We've now got about a 5 to 6 girls league. So we're doing stuff for ladies basketball. You know, the academy is going from success to success. You know, like Gavin said, we've always coached all the university teams. That's worked. So I feel that the ultimate part is we've now growing so much that we need to be looking at how we get into our own facility. When I say get into our own facility, it might be a joint facility that's basketball and netball, but just for those two sports, in the sense, selfishly, in the sense that we've got a lot of junior teams. We could have an under 14 National League team, under 16 National League team, and under 18 National League team, which is what we want to get to. But right now, we don't have the space to accommodate them. So as soon as we've got that space, that's the direction that we want to go into, so that we can develop. You know, we've got, like Gavin mentioned, also again, you know, Joel Freeland's been around and stuff and that, and he loves what the Scorchers are doing. I know that Gavin will be having chats with him about him being involved a little bit more, and what he can bring to the table, and what we can help him with, what his brand is going to be. So these next couple of years are going to be really, really exciting. On the basketball court, don't get me wrong, I want to win. You know, I'll sit down with Gavin and Georgina, and I'll do my presentation, and I'll say, look, this is where I feel I did things wrong. This is where I think I can get things right. So that when I build the team up for next season, it's a team that's going to be able to compete and give us results on and off the court, but be experienced enough to do stuff on the court. Because, like Gavin said, you know, we can build something, but it's got to be something that we've got numbers and numbers of people that just want to turn up, and that brand just becomes something special. And I think that we do have a brand. Like before, we never had one, but like now we do have stuff. You know, kids are asking for Scorchers t-shirts. Kids are asking for this. Kids are asking for a Scorchers t-shirt rather than a NBA t-shirt, which is a big thing, a big thing. And I'm very passionate about getting into the community, as we have been doing, and our big push with like our Basketball for All project is trying to make basketball accessible to everybody. You know, unfortunately for everybody, for lots of places, it's a pay and play. That's just how things work. But with our own facilities and getting the right funding and sponsors in, then it's gonna go from strength to strength to strength. So it's I'm very proud and to be in the position that I am, and I've always said that to Gavin. I'll always thank him, because I never ever forget about who gave me the opportunities. When I first was Surrey Heat, you know, Alan McClafferty put me in that position, and then when I was out of it and stuff, and that Gavin put me in the position, and so I owe him as much as I owe the organization and stuff, and I'll work tirelessly but work smartly in the years to come.
Mm-hmm. And finally, for you, Teo, what does the next 5 years look like for you from a playing perspective?
So for me, I think the governors on the other side have pretty much covered it all. From a playing perspective, it's never really changed. It's always been to get as much silverware as possible. That's always been, if you ask Gavin, that when we had that initial conversation, that's always been my goal. That's always been my drive, my hunger. But along the years of the 5 years that I've gone through, a lot has changed in my views of what it takes to get there and what the brand is. I remember year one was I signed. It was great. I was part of this new thing, part of this new franchise in this new building that had all the facilities. And then I got on court, and it wasn't as much as I expected. It didn't add up. The newness and what we put on court, it didn't go, and it didn't add up to what I wanted it to be. So year one was really hard, and I remember I had some days, some down days thinking about it. But going on and moving on in year two and year three, and being more successful, and then on the flip side, I'd go up and have conversations with Gavin, and Gavin would be like, "But look what we did from the sales point of view. Look what we did. Look at this opportunity we've got to have an academy here, and look at all the other stuff that's going on off court." And slowly but surely, because as a player you can sometimes especially in my position, you can sometimes get so focused on one goal that you can't see the other things that are happening around you. And as we accumulated the fans and the wins and the stuff came on board, the academy and other things fell in place, we really started to generate some momentum to where we're at today. And it's funny, I'm noticing the impact we have just even in my area. The other day, a kid that actually lives, I think he lives 3 or 4 doors away down from me, came up and he said, "Oh, you're Teo. We came to one of your games before the pandemic happened, and it was the best game I've ever been to in my life. And I'm now a basketball fan." And his dad was telling me that he just bought a hoop and put it in the back for him. And I was like, "Oh, I just live down there." So, do you know what I mean? If you want to come and play one-on-one sometimes, like when the pandemic's over, just, do you know what I mean? And it's things like that reassures me that we're doing the right thing, like touching people's lives, like making people's lives better. There's kids that are from the academy that are now in the States, and guys like Jeremy, do you know what I mean? Those things for me as a person and for me as a player, those are the things that I take home with me and I take away when I see people in the community that come up to me and just say, oh, it doesn't matter about the loss, or doesn't matter about what's going on. That was great entertainment. That was great basketball, or that was a great game. Just random people. Those things really have an effect on me moving forward. So, if anything I could add to the next 5 years is to with all the infrastructure that we have and all the infrastructure that we're planning to hopefully build and move on, to just have that kind of effect on the surrounding community. Because obviously, as a young kid, like I always needed that kind of person or organization or something to outlet or to look up to. Do you know what I mean? So if I can have that as part of our legacy, as part of stuff that we're doing, that's always my ultimate end goal.
Tom, when I ultimately took over at SSP, the sports park as managing director in summer, early on I snapped my sort of flag in the ground that our sort of our purpose, our why was that we transform people's lives, and I generally meant that, and this is where Scorchers fit in within that, in the broad of why does Sports Park do Scorchers, is that it generally does transform people's lives. People come to games, get inspired, and they take up basketball. They become fans. And that's not them being told to do something. They come in and fall in love with it. And I think that that's another thing for these players, that hindsight is a wonderful thing, and being older and wise and a little bit wiser and looking back, the thing that I'd love these players to recognise is that they can go and play in other countries and other places, but you come and play most clubs that the fans that come, most of them don't have recognition of who these players are. And actually, if you speak to most of them, their heroes aren't Matthew or Ryan, because they don't really know anything about that. It's Henry and James and Lavelle and Kalen, because they're the ones that are coaching them in the community. They're the ones that have come to the school, and they're literally heroes. And you potentially not going to get anywhere else. So and it'd be great if when that clicks for players, it's a wonderful thing to see. And I see it in the other big world clubs, some of these sort of almost franchise players, that it's click. They recognise that actually I'm really important to this franchise, and I make a difference. I transform someone's life. My role as a basketball player is inspiring. It's why that post-match signing autographs, having selfies taken. For me, it's almost as important as playing the game, because I tell you what, those kids generally leave. Oh my word! I've never seen so many happy kids. Kids that have never been to basketball before. They come away going, "Oh my God, I've got a picture with